PWE Music. I'm Dr. Patrick Engler, and we're continuing on with our 2025 All-State Etude Resource Video Series. In this video, the etude you just heard is the F major etude, the Andante Maestoso, the Romans by Wiedemann, on page 6 of the Voxman Select Studies, and this is from the Iowa All-State program. So let's dive in and check out a few things about this etude to help with your preparation. With this etude, we see that we have a lot of room for freedom. We have a lot of open space for being very expressive and playing with rubato, tempo changes, dynamics, and phrasing, and really making it our own. So with this, make sure that you form a plan, write in what you want to do, and get as granular as you want. But make sure that you have that plan and you know how to execute it. Make sure you're practicing that way. And we don't leave it up to improvisation in the moment. So now, maybe you don't have any good ideas. Maybe you don't know what to do. This is where listening to different recordings comes in. And that's why I start my videos with a recording of me playing it, so you get some ideas how I would do it. But I encourage you to listen to as many as you can. Pick what you like. You can kind of Frankenstein it and put together a bunch of different ideas. But you want to make sure that you have ideas, whether you come up with it yourself or you borrow it from someone else. Make sure that you form that plan and have it written in, and we practice and prepare that way. Next big thing with this etude, and this is something if you've seen other videos of mine that I talk about a lot with our more expressive, more lyrical, especially the etudes that can get into more rubato and tempo changes. The key to making that effective is we start with a consistent pulse. So when we're learning it, when we're practicing it, don't get away from the metronome too quickly. Make sure we practice it with the metronome. We build a nice, consistent, steady pulse underneath. And then when we can have that kind of be the fabric that stitches it all together, we can play with rubato and tempo changes, and we can move and flow around that consistent pulse. So for this next section, I want to get into a few different points on how we're going to break this down, how we can phrase it and make some sense of it, going back to how are we going to formulate our plan. So we're breaking it down from this big etude into smaller and smaller pieces. So the first place is we find our restart points. So we have this theme in the beginning. Now, where do we see this come up again? Looking through, we have it in pickups to measure 15 and pickups to measure 29. So we have kind of three big sections that we start with this main theme. We go through some different material, and ultimately we kind of peter out and spin out in the end, and then we restart. So if we can find those, these are our refresh points. These are our restart points. We're restating this main theme. So no matter what we've done before, here we want to reel it back in, get back to how we started, restate that theme, and kind of go again from there. Continuing on talking about phrasing, we have a couple rules of thumb that you want to consider when we're working through this etude, and that is what speeds up must slow back down, and what crescendos must stay crescendos. And this kind of works in vice versa as well. What slows down must also speed up, but decrescendos has to crescendo. So what this does, it basically gets us back to our average. So if we recall what we were talking about tempo, with that nice consistent pulse underneath. If we can do the same thing with our dynamics and our rubatos, that's going to keep us kind of in check as we go through. We don't ever let anything get out of hand, and we always keep it in control. A pitfall with these slower, more lyrical, expressive etudes is we can kind of get ourselves into the danger zone. We get too loud, and then we have no way of reeling it back in. We get too soft, we have no way of reeling it back in. We push our rubatos too much, and then we kind of have to really put on the brakes, and it feels abrupt when we come into a fermata. So we always want to get back to that average, and that leaves us room to be more expressive with our dynamics, leaves us room to be more expressive with our rubato if we kind of balance everything out. So a trick we can use in kind of keeping this average of our dynamics, our time, and so forth, is we want to consider the concept of terracing. So we most commonly talk about terracing with our dynamics. You may have heard this in band before, but rather than kind of a linear, just going from soft to loud or loud to soft, we kind of do it in steps. We get louder, we bring it back. get louder, we bring it back, get louder, and we bring it back, so on and so forth. And that gives the illusion that we're getting louder than we actually are. This reeling it, always reeling it back in. So for an example, let's look at the third system. We have the poco a poco accelerando and crescendo. So here we can do it with both time and dynamic. So in the first two measures, we have some accelerando, some crescendo. And then on the pickups to the third measure of this third system, I reel it back in and push forward again. And again, at the pickups to the last measure of this third system, to the pinnacle of this phrase. We terrace the accelerando, terrace the crescendo, so it gives the illusion of doing more than we actually are. Another rule of thumb we can use in developing our phrasing is looking for where our half steps are. Half steps are a good indicator of where we can put some emphasis because it's a marker for some progression in the melody. So whether that's a place where we dig in and emphasize it or we come away from it, it's a good place to kind of check our phrasing and make sure that we're traveling in the right direction. The final point I'd like to highlight with this etude, and we remember that this etude has a lot of room for musical expression, is that we buy into whatever plan we create, we exaggerate those musical choices, and at the risk of sounding cliche, we sell it to whoever's listening. With an etude like this, there's no one right answer. It's not just playing the right notes and the right rhythms. There's a lot of room for interpretation. What's more important is that we make a choice and we stand by that choice and we really try to back that up as best as we can. But that about covers it for this etude. As always, if there's any questions or anything you think I missed, drop a comment below and I'll do my best to address them. Make sure you subscribe to catch all the other videos that we'll be doing for the All-State series. Happy practicing, and we'll catch you in the next one.